Last Express. I feel like this game was made just for me. I am a huge fan of murder mystery media, conspiracies, and true crime stories. Not necessarily because I'm attracted to romanticized depictions of atrocities, but more so because my inner psychologist is vastly interested in human behavior, and probably also due to my sometimes morbid focus on things. This focus has formed into an interest of everything mystery related in pop culture. Literature, movies, television, accounts of history, strange conspiracies, and more recently, murder mystery games. I want something to figure out, something challenging to unravel, and The Last Express satiates all of those desires of wanting to be a part of a vortex of intrigue, mystique, and death. And before I go any further, my favorite conspiracy mystery weird thing to look up is the Denver airport. Pause this video and look up the demon horse statue at the Denver airport, seriously. No, wait, don't do that, I don't want you guys clicking off of my video. Here. How cool is that, huh? Alright, full admission, I bought this game on GOG years ago because despite it being a commercial flop when it was released in 1997, it's gained a really awesome reputation, but I couldn't get past the graphical style. I saw screen caps and thought the rotoscoped animations looked so bad and scribbly, so I avoided it until recently. After playing it, however, I have to say that I wish there were more games exactly like The Last Express. Why, you ask? Well, let me just attempt to pique your interest with this. The game takes place in 1914, a couple days before World War I on the Orient Express, which is a long-distance luxury train that ran off and on in Europe from 1883 until 2009. Over time, the train's route has changed, but in this game you're traveling from Paris to Constantinople, now Istanbul, not Constantinople, with several stops on the way. The Orient Express is a very popular vessel in pop culture, with Murder on the Orient Express, a novel by Agatha Christie, being the most notable. I guess the Orient Express just makes a wonderful place for murder. You assume the role of Robert Cath, an American fugitive doctor who's on the run from the police for the murder of an authority figure. He hops the Orient Express after getting a telegram from his friend Tyler Whitney asking him to meet him there. Apparently he's in cabin 1, so let's go see what he wants.
Tyler.
Huh, okay. Well, seeing as though Tyler has met an unfortunate fate, there's no use keeping him around. You were a good man, Tyler. I hardly knew ye because when I found you, you were dead. You're taking up space, though, and I'm claustrophobic, so up we go. Put on a couple pounds, did you? Come on, out you go. Hup hup. Of course, the only logical thing for Cath to do at this point is to take the identity of his friend Tyler. Just put on his coat and I'm sure nobody will ever recognize you, even though you're a totally different person and now there's blood all over your cabin floor. While Cath is posing as Tyler, he gets himself mixed up in a whirlwind of political issues, corruption, conspiracy, and romance. While trying to figure out what happened to Tyler, you find yourself eavesdropping on other characters and trying to help them with their problems as well. Cath appears to be multilingual. When he understands a language he overhears, the subtitles for those conversations pop up.
D'abord le chien et maintenant le violon. C'est vraiment incroyable. Je veux à tout prix parler au chef de train.
Est-ce que c'est elle assise avec le gros monsieur? Je trouve qu'elle est très belle.
On the train, you'll meet a myriad of interesting and sometimes intimidating characters, like the Austrian spy.
Mind if I join you?
That's bold. Is it customary in America to be so forward?
In certain circles, it's not unheard of.
I must have been moving in the wrong circles. I hope you find somewhere to sit.
Ooh, sick burn.
The Serbian freedom fighters, or terrorists depending on which characters you ask, and the Russian anarchist. This is one of the very few games that tries to simulate real time, though in this instance, for every minute that passes in real life, 6 minutes pass in the game. Basically, this means if something is happening in the game and you happen to be there to witness it, well, then you do. However, if you're not there at a particular time something is happening, it happens anyway, whether you see it or not. For example, if you want to knock on passenger car doors all day long, be my guest, but you're probably missing an important conversation in the dining car right now as you futz around awkwardly. The game is kind of like Myst meets the Colonel's Bequest, first-person perspective being very Myst-like and gameplay itself being very Colonel's Bequest, especially considering the amount of spying you have to do to even understand the storyline. The Colonel's Bequest has some real-time elements as well, where you can miss timed events or miss people you need to eavesdrop on, but it doesn't have the same real-time simulation. It mostly depends on triggered events. Other games that have attempted this are Night Trap and Voyeur, and also Nintendogs. One of these games is not like the others. If you play the game the way it was intended, listening to characters and meddling in people's personal lives, you'll learn a bit about history, geography, and also be entertained by a dramatic storyline. I think the narrative and gameplay have really stood the test of time. The more I played the game, the more I wanted to know more about these characters and their backgrounds and their agendas. The train makes an excellent setting for the story, too. It's cramped and somewhat empty, and the rotoscoped animations provide a really neat yet completely eerie touch to the game. They're slightly janky when held by today's standards, but this game predates rotoscope pieces like Waking Life and A Scanner Darkly, and was insanely innovative for 1997. When a character is walking towards me, it looks completely natural, yet completely unnatural at the same time because it's a cartoon. It's weird seeing this completely organic, human shape walk towards me only to realize it's animated. It's very visually appealing despite looking slightly out of date, and I want more media exactly like this. Imagine this game with its awesome Art Deco inspired design and complex narrative with the advanced aesthetic of A Scanner Darkly. I would love something like that, and I would buy something like that. Take my money. The animation very much works in the game's favor in a lot of ways. Especially impressive is this sequence where Kath has a nightmare about his deceased friend, Tyler Whitney.
Why don't you make it sing?
Wow, this man has no manners. First he up and dies a bloody death on the cabin floor, and now he's up chucking perfectly good eggs. This is also where you can find that clip I showed earlier. It's an Easter egg, and a really iconic one at that. You can even see it in the screen caps on GOG. If you want to see it for yourself, all you have to do is go to the door and click on the bell 3 times. You'll hear a bell ring. Go out and you'll see one of the guardsmen juggling 3 copies of his own noggin. Just proves what I've said all along. This game is way ahead of its time. The game mechanic makes for a very challenging experience with no way of redemption. Well, actually, okay, there's a little bit of mercy. You can rewind time if you think you've missed something important. Sound familiar? Jordan Mechner, creator of this game, also implemented this rewind mechanic in Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. It's really helpful, especially if you're perceptive and you can catch when you've missed something. In order to create the most historically accurate design for the Orient Express, the game designers tracked down the original blueprints and the last remaining sleeper car, which was located in an abandoned train yard in Athens, Greece. 3D modelers and designers took hundreds of photographs and measurements of that sleeper car and used them to construct the train you see here in the game.
Important discovery for us because it gave us the ability to be accurate. To me, it's like bringing a period back to life when, all incentive were to forget about it.
Combine the work it took to design the train itself with the work it took to rotoscope all the characters, and you have one of the most ambitious games I've ever seen, especially for the late 90s. Because this story is completely non-linear and is ultimately controlled by the player's choices, the script turned out to be massive, 800 pages long. To liven up the game, a few action sequences were also put into it, which I'm really not a fan of. They're actually rather jarring in contrast to the rest of the gameplay, but it's worth winning just to hear this guy's lovely scream. This game is pretty intense, so don't expect a happy ending. Don't get me wrong, there's a good ending and a bad ending, but the good ending is not happy. Of course, I don't mind that at all. This game sets the tone very early on. So if you're one that likes really lighthearted, humorous, or family-oriented games, then this title is not for you. Personally, I enjoy more morose games that are intended to be more engaging than amusing, so if you like this one, feel free to join my club of those who don't like fun. Meetings will be held every Tuesday night where we listen to the Smiths and brood. The game I'm showing here is the Steam version, which has a few added perks, such as better interface and a hint system, but I was struggling with it because it got really glitchy on me. I was able to play it and beat it, but noticed a lot of issues, which is why I recommend the GOG version without the added perks. Either way, I highly recommend the game because it's such a cool experience. And hey, if you end up disliking it, at least you got to see this guy juggling his own head. Hey everyone, thank you for checking out my video on The Last Express. I really hope it piqued your interest and you decide to give it a shot. Special shout out goes to Dennis Andre for being freaking awesome. Go Dennis, woo! Sometimes I post things about the Demon Horse statue on my social media accounts. Feel free to chat it up with me there. Or if you feel so inclined, check out my Patreon campaign where I actually still talk about the Demon Horse statue. I have a thing for creepy statues, and I look them up at night before I go to sleep sometimes. So yeah. Okay, see you later.